it's one of the big things that I always say, like you need to talk to others and you need to talk to people that are different than you, have different lifestyle, different
Mm.
experiences, different thoughts, because if you don't get another perspective, you can't understand somebody else.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Diagnosis, a podcast to raise your awareness, decisions, and voice for alternative practices so you can take back control of your health. I'm Rita De Michele, your host, a mindset and empowerment coach, and the founder of the ONUS platform. Join me each week so you can create the health of your dreams. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Diagnosis. Once a month, we share a story from women who found the courage, resolve, and personal power to back themselves and to find alternative answers for their health so they could move from adversity to inspiration. Today's guest is Teresa Carnegie has an amazing story that takes us along her healing journey and from several car accidents and 18 months of trauma to then have a huge life transition as a published author. Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Can you just tell us a little bit of when this all started for you and
Hmm.
how did it start?
Gonna make me think about times. It was about 10 years ago. It
Right,
was my dad passed away from cancer. And 1 week later, almost to the day, I was in a car accident where I was sitting at a red light and a 90-year-old person didn't have the reflexes to hit the brakes. So he drove right into me and then
right.
rebounded and hit me again a second time.
Wow.
And probably would have hit me a third time, but his car stuck into mine. So I was like, yay, it stopped. So that was it physically impacted me, but for myself, I've had concussions in the past, and this was now basically getting two concussions at once because of its double impact. And that was, it took me a long time to get over that concussion. It took me, I think it was 3 months or just over 3 months to get to a point where I could even go back to work part time, because I was struggling. I had migraines. I didn't just have headaches. So every
Did
little
you have
thing
whiplash? So did you experience like whiplash?
I had, they don't really call it a whiplash here. So there was a lot of, I did have injury at the, I think somebody explained it to me once as I have injuries at the top of my spine and the bottom of my spine. So my lower back and
Oh,
my neck.
right.
And that also plays a part with concussions too, when you have
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
kind of neck issue. So yeah, it was a difficult time. I did little things like I couldn't go for a walk. It was too much for me. Just going, I lived in an apartment building and just going, taking the elevator down and walking from the elevator to the front door, which was, I don't know, maybe 20 meters. I would start falling asleep because it was too much for me.
Wow.
So yeah, it was, I was hit really hard with that concussion. And it took a long time for me to get better. So I did to, because I couldn't go for a walk with and make it home before falling asleep. I did little things like I would clean out a drawer in my bathroom, and that took me days because just sorting things gave me a headache because I was trying to make decisions. Because the concussion, your brain controls everything, so
Yeah.
it can just control your body's movements. It controls your decisions, your thoughts, like I said, the exercise, like everything. And so I started doing that. I ended up purging my entire home by, for my healing process of concussion. And, but it kept me from sitting in I needed the darkness and I needed the quiet. So there wasn't much else to do but just sit and stare at a wall, which is not possible and productive and drive, it makes you go crazy.
Yeah.
And that was actually, that was also a really hard part, was before that car accident, I was working 40 plus hours a week. I was in two part-time classes at like a, I don't know, a trade school college kind of thing. And so two evening classes, and that's a lot in a week. And then I went to
Yes.
sit on a couch in the dark doing
So you
nothing.
lost your job from this?
I did not lose my job. No, my
Oh.
boss was really good about holding out for me. And after about 4 months of being off in total, I went back part time.
Mm-hmm.
There was I started, and you don't go. I didn't go back as myself. I went back completely changed, because again, sounds were too much, um, lights were too much. By the time I had driven in a commute to get to the office, I was exhausted and I needed to meditate before I could even start work. And this was a job that was, a lot of go, go, go kind of thing, phones ringing. And then I started having problems with coworker who did not appreciate the fact that I left and came back and thought I was, getting some kind of special treatment. And, because I could not do a lot of the same things I did before. Physically, I could not lift things. I could not, my job was um, a desk job, but I had to go into the warehouse to check things or grab things for a customer real quick, or, something like that. It was a very small business. And just going up and down the stairs was a lot for me. So I couldn't do that more than once or twice a day. And there was just a lot, like there was so much that I felt, and that's the hardest part too. You notice you change. You notice you're not the same. You notice you can't do the same as
That's what I
before.
was going to ask you. Like
It is hard.
you're feeling all this on a physical level, and you
Mhm.
can see it in your environment, the impact that it's having.
Yeah,
But how did you feel like on an identity level? Like on
it
your
was
identity?
horrid.
Yeah, like
It was
what was
horrid.
going
It
through your
was,
mind at the time, as in your identity had changed from was probably a chatty, vibrant person in the office who could just go and do things totally capable to now not talking, he's got headaches, is tired, can't do the simplest thing. That would be that would be hard on someone's well, not just an emotional state, but your whole identity as a person.
yes. That's the thing, is we wrap our identity up into all these little things, right?
Mm,
And when you don't have those little things, or when they change, you don't know who you are anymore. I
yeah.
honestly had no idea who I was anymore. I was like, there was a lot of crying. And I'd never cried before. And there I kept crying, because I would get exhausted or overwhelmed so easily. So there was that. But then there was the identity aspect of it. It's like, like I said, I all of a sudden, one day I'm in two night classes and working full time. The very next day, I can't get off the couch or out of bed, so
It's the shock, isn't it? It's a
it
shock.
is.
It didn't come slowly. It didn't progress. It was just the shock of what happened, what can happen to you from one day to the
Mhm.
next.
Exactly. It was like the week before with my dad dying, like that was a big thing of,
Yeah.
how life can
Point.
change so quick, right? I
Mm.
mean, we knew he had cancer and he was, slowly going downhill, but it still is a hard thing to deal with. And then, like I said, 1 week later, and my whole life changed.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
within minutes, my whole life changed. And I didn't know who I was. I was always busy. I always had a whole lot of things on the go. And I had nothing. And, I didn't know what to do with myself. Hence, I started purging and cleaning out things. But it would take forever. Like one cupboard in the kitchen would take me an entire week to do, because it was just too much. And I built up, but I still wasn't where I went back to work, and I still wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I felt bad, but I also felt like, why can't I do this? And then then I started guilting, shaming myself, but I was also getting that from the outside forces too. So then you've got that, and then they add on to it, and it just keeps it even more. And then you don't know how you can come back from that, because you're getting through all of it, right? Not just your own. So you just keep pushing. I gotta get back to where I was. I gotta get back to where I was. And I kept pushing and pushing. And unfortunately, my body wasn't ready to be pushed, I guess. And, like little things happen, like, spending a day at work, doing the commute, coming home, massive migraine, can barely think. I opened up the fridge and a 500 milliliter bottle of water fell down and landed on my foot and broke my foot. Like most people can get their foot out of the way in time. I just watched it happen. I couldn't. I just couldn't.
It's that reflex to get out of the
I,
way.
I didn't have the reflexes, but I also was just dealing with that level of pain. It
Mm.
meant that I couldn't think of anything else. Like I couldn't think because that's a lot of pain. And I was also, I had other physical injuries. So it wasn't just the migraines I was dealing with. It was also the physical injuries I was dealing with. I honestly, this is the funniest thing. Well, not so funny for me, but it's funny for other people. It hurt to sit down. It's like my bum hurt.
Oh, so not from the spine. It was actually just from being seated on
I
your.
think I think it's related to the whatever injuries I had, but yeah, it hurts to sit for me. Even now, because um, so in the 18 months that you had mentioned, I had 3 car accidents, and with those 3 car accidents, by the second one, my doctor noticed I had anxiety. I didn't notice it because I had never had anxiety before.
Mm,
And then so that one happened. I think it was 11 months after the first accident. And then about 3 months later, I had a third accident. And that one gave me panic attacks. And I had never had panic attacks before. I had no idea what was happening. Luckily for me, and you'll notice I like to use luckily and the good side of stuff
yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't get through things if you just keep thinking about how awful it is. But luckily for me, I was in my doctor's office and I had one because by this point, it had been 14 months. I'd had 3 car accidents. I'd lost my father, and I had a lot of, that stuff happening at the job.
Mm.
And so I believed everybody was trying to kill me. And it wasn't a conscious thought, but it was like it was in there. Subconsciously, I believed everybody was trying to kill me. So I was in a doctor's office, and I guess there was just too many people. And I got a panic attack because I didn't know if I could trust these people. It felt unsafe situation. And my doctor, so I got put into the room and immediately put on an app and headphones. And I was just, breathing in, breathing out, and just focusing on that and the voice in my, the app I was using, the voice telling me to breathe in, breathe out. And my doctor came in and she's like, "Oh, you're having a panic attack." And I was like, "Wait, what? What is that? What's going on?" And, so it it brought a lot of things I had never even knew existed or had to deal with into my life. And shortly after that, and a friend from childhood, lifelong friend, passed away from cancer.
Oh,
And then
they
I think it was about,
you, didn't they?
pardon?
It just kept coming for you,
Oh, it kept
one thing
coming.
after another.
About 2 weeks after her passing away, I got scabies, and I didn't even know what that was because I didn't know it was a thing. And I was in a reputable clothing store and tried clothes on and got scabies. So then I had to deal with that. And by this point, I was just like a mess. I was so overwhelmed by life. I was so exhausted from struggling and fighting and trying to get back to where I was before. And I remember crying, and my mom came to drop something off at my house, at my place, and she was like, "I want to hug you, but I can't," because it's super contagious.
Right.
And I was like, "It's fine, I'm fine," and it was a lot. And shortly after that, I had seen a pain specialist who said, "Your just keep going attitude is hurting you. You're not getting, you're not, you're hindering yourself from getting better. You're not listening to your body."
Oh,
And
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah, I was
A pain
very lucky.
specialist actually said
Yeah,
to you, you need to stop and listen to your body.
yeah. because he said I have a really high pain tolerance and just kept going. And so I wasn't giving my body the chance to heal.
Mm,
And then so there was that and some other stuff. And I ended up just like leaving a job that I had been at for like 13 and a half years. I left. I went on vacation and I never went back.
that's
And it was hard. And there was a lot of crying there too. And there was a lot of, I have a mortgage to pay. I have a car payment to pay. What am I going to do? How am I going to live? And I remember my doctor was like, you need to heal mentally, physically, and emotionally. You need to heal.
yeah,
And so between that pain specialist and my doctor telling me that, it started me on a route of trying some alternative things that, I mean, it's not a,
can I
I
just
had,
ask you a question
yes,
before you
sure.
go into trying the alternative, which we want to hear? We want to hear specifically who you saw, what you did, what worked, what didn't. But one of the things, like sharing these stories, is about finding that resolve, finding that courage, finding that inner
Mm,
power. So I want to ask, how did you, with all of this that was happening, all this adversity is happening to you all at the same time, so many things all at the same time, how did you
mhm.
find that inner courage to help yourself? Where did that come from for you? Did your mind was with migraines, so it obviously must have come from a level quite deep. Like how did you, whilst you're dealing with all this, find that courage and resolve to go, no, I'm going to
It
step
was,
out. I'm going to
it
find.
didn't, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no.
It wasn't easy and it wasn't every single day was, oh, yay, kind of thing. I remember after that first car accident, um, I remember saying to my mom, this feels like my life's about to change in a big way. And I don't know how and I don't know why, but it feels big. And I think that I just have a natural just keep going attitude.
Mm,
And even though I was told that was stopping me, you don't really lose that. You can't just not keep going. But there were days that were super hard, and I was really lucky. Like I remember specifically being on the phone one day with my mom, and I was suffering. Like I was having a really hard time. Like you don't know what to do anymore because things just keep coming.
yeah.
And she said, "You're the strongest person I know of. I know you can do this." And that was huge. It's still in my head because it was so impactful,
Mm,
and there were days actually. So I left my job. I went on vacation, left my job, came back, and I shouldn't have said that I alternative medicine because I was doing some alternative stuff in massage therapy and chiropractor, and I also went to a naturopath because he had helped me with a previous concussion, and so I went and I was taking supplements from him, and I was supposed to have an appointment. I came back from vacation. I was supposed to have an appointment a week later. And the night before, there was a message saying, I'm not feeling well. I have to cancel our appointment. I'll let you know when I'm feeling better. 2 weeks later, he had passed away. And then, so I was still seeing my other stuff. And I saw my doctor. And about 2 weeks after I saw my doctor, I needed another appointment. And I phoned to make an appointment. Phone was disconnected. She had closed her practice suddenly because he had passed a cancer. She got cancer. And so it kept going. I was struggling to get out of bed some days. It was really hard.
unbelievable.
I actually was on the phone with my mom one day, and there was an email that came in about a flight sale to Australia, and I booked it for 3 months. I was like, well, I got no job, and I just went. I was like,
Fantastic.
I needed a circuit breaker. I needed something to get me out of where I was at, the life I was experiencing.
You
I
need
do not
to take
recommend that for
that
everybody.
energy and change it.
Yes. I was also doing stuff like I'd always, my whole life I'd been told I wasn't creative, and so I never really did much in creative things with creative things. But while I was just sitting there all the time, I wasn't working. I started writing, and I just wrote. And so what I did was I decided to, go out and experience things, like go to a bakery and try. And then I would write about it and put it up on this website that I created. And so I was learning all these new things. And it was getting me out of the house to try new things. And it was getting me to put my energy into something new that I didn't know. And that right there is huge, because when you can't get back to where you used to be, there is nothing but a lot of negativity going on in your brain,
Yeah.
and also from outside sources.
Yes.
And but coming up with something new to do and learn, huge. It will change you because you have no expectations, and if you can't learn it all in one sitting, who cares? It's new. It'll take me 3 weeks to learn the simplest thing. I don't care, it's new, because you have zero expectations. It is awesome. So between my circuit breaker trip and me taking up writing, that helped. That it flipped me out of the downward spiral. And things weren't perfect when I came back, but I wasn't spiraling anymore down. It gave me like rejuvenate, because I was lucky. I knew so many people in Australia and New Zealand that when I went there, I think in 3 months I spent 2 weeks by myself. So I was seeing all these people I knew and spending time with them, and they hadn't seen me for years, so they were excited to see me. And so being around people that were excited to see me, that was what I needed. It was, they didn't have expectations of me. They didn't care that I couldn't do things, all of these. It was all new. We just hadn't seen each other. It was a catching up. So
Yeah.
it really made it so that I could come home and start working at coming back again and finding ways that worked for me.
So having connection
Yes, the
helped your
connections,
healing, having connection
huge.
with others, sharing your
Yeah,
story, having connection.
100%.
Yeah, helped to fill your cup again.
It did, because you're alone when everything happens to you,
Mm,
and you might get some support from some people, but it's not, you're getting a lot of negativity from people who knew you before anything happened to you. So it's nonstop. Well, why can't you do this? Well, you should be able to do this. Simple things like, I can't sit for a length of time and get up and move. I have to stop, just move my body, give my body a couple minutes. And I got yelled at for that before. We're going. Why are you just standing there? And I'm like, this isn't new. Like, this has been a couple
yeah.
of years, like a couple of years or whatever. And it's like, but people have these ideas of the way things have always been or how you used to be. And it's hard for that to switch. So
I
when
think if
you're
I could
surrounded
interject
by it,
there, I
you
think
can
it's
make
a
it
little
better.
bit also around, we mentioned this before, around the invisible illness.
Oh, yeah,
When
that's
you
a big
have an
one too.
invisible illness or an invisible problem, like, like you're saying, you have to wiggle a little bit to get your body to move, or you have a migraine, or these kind of invisible ones are the ones that I think are judged so harshly by the community.
100%. Because
Mm,
visually you look
fine.
normal. You look
Yeah.
fine, right? And so you don't have, the concussion clinic said that to me. It's not like you have a cast on your arm or leg that means you can't do something. So people can't make that association of you're in pain, you're injured, because
Because
nobody
they're
can
not
see it.
measurable, it's hard.
That's a good
Visually,
way to
it's
say
not there, and it's
it.
not measurable, and it's
Yeah.
only you, the person experiencing it, that can give any context to it or a level or something, and then you're kind of relying on someone else to say, "I get that. I get that.
Yes.
I get where you're at." But a lot of people, unless they've gone through it themselves, they don't get it.
No, I mean, I myself was really bad to do that. I used to be like, oh, come on, and then boom, happened to me. And now I'm like, oh, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Like my empathy and the way I word things now, the way my understanding is a lot different now that I've gone through it. Because before, again, my just keep going attitude was like, why don't you just keep going? What's your problem? Kind
It's
of
a
thing,
it's a
right?
push through society. It's a
Yes.
society that requires you to push through.
Yes.
And the body is not something that should be
It's not
pushed
made to do
through.
that. It
The
can't
body,
heal if it's pushed.
it can't heal if it's pushed.
No.
So, you know, and most of the time, most of the time, I'm not going to definitely say not for everybody, we need to go through an experience or a similar same experience to then have the empathy and understanding for someone else.
Yes.
Because of this push through, get on with it, you know, don't be weak.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear how that changed for you. Your perspective changed because you went through it, and now you have more empathy for people when you can't see what they're going through.
hmm Have different lifestyle, different
Mm,
experiences, different thoughts. Because if you don't get another perspective, you can't understand somebody else. And if you can't understand somebody else, you've just closed your life bubble. You can't understand when people are in pain. You can't understand when people are struggling. You can't understand what most people are going through if you only surround yourself with people that are exact same as you. It's one of the things, like, for me, travel is a huge thing. I love travel. I feel really good when I travel. And part of it is learning about the other country that I'm visiting, and the culture and the people. But the other side of it is, you know, you see perspectives that aren't yours. You see experiences that aren't yours. You see lifestyles. You see so much that's different than yours. It opens your mind. It opens your bubble.
travel's
And
a
you're,
beauty for
you
that
know,
one.
it's wonderful. It
It's
really
great.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to do it because it's not for everybody, but it is definitely something that works for me for that. But it's also why I love talking to, I love talking to people, and I love talking to random people. And I'll, like, in the coffee shop, and I'll hear something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I apologize for interrupting, but can I just mention this one thing? 'Cause, it's
So
it's one of those things.
you're actually a serial interrupter, aren't you?
Oh, I'm awful. I am. I'm absolutely awful. I know I am. I totally know I am. But it's amazing how what one person gets offended when you say something, and another person, I will get a message saying, "You saved my life." Like, I
Amazing.
would never have known this was a thing, or I would not have gone to, get this checked, or, just whatever. Because
Because you've
I mean,
shared.
I've 100% shared. And I'll even say something like, I'm recognizing in you something that I experienced. Like my downward spiral. It now I'm like, oh, I can hear, if I'm talking to people, I can almost hear the sadness in them. And I'll be like, just give them a
Mm.
little something, like, again, my number one go-to advice is, have you tried learning something new? Have you tried doing something new? It's amazing how that can help. And it's small, and it can get you the first step into maybe seeing somebody, or talking to somebody, or looking outside of what you think. um, it's I have a lot of, I've had people say, oh, the doctor doesn't care, or this thing the doctor said doesn't work. And, well, I guess this is how I have to live forever. And I've actually had a doctor say to me, well, that's how you have to live forever. And I was like, oh, no, it's
Ah.
not. Because I like to tell people I'm going to live to be 107, and I'm going to be having a very active lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I need to get things sorted out now.
Love the attitude.
So if you don't talk to other people, things stay secret, and you don't know it's a thing, and you don't know that it doesn't have to be a thing. You don't know that you're not alone, or you don't know that you're not. That's not nice to say. You're not special, but sometimes we think that, like, this is only happening to me. So you almost have that mentality of you're special, but it's not in a good way. It's, this is only happening to me. This is, uh, something that always happens to me. And you start going into that negative aspect of it. But if
Mm,
you talk to people, you realize you're not. It's not just you,
yeah,
and
it's
it's
everywhere.
not. It is,
It's every
and so many times, like, people think only athletes get concussions. Not true. More people are likely to get concussions in regular life than athletes do. Or
Mm,
there's more people in regular life getting concussions than athletes.
yeah.
So it's just something we don't recognize, and doctors even aren't on top a lot of it. Not a lot of doctors understand concussions, because one concussion for one person can be very different for another person.
Mm,
I'm in double digit, or is it 9 or 10 now, of diagnosed concussions, and they're all different. They're not the same.
yeah.
How I come back now, I have all these, I have a toolbox now, so it's a little bit better, but how can you help somebody without recognizing that they're all different, and what helps one person isn't going to help the next person.
Exactly.
um,
It's the
but you don't.
individual. You have it's
Yes.
individual whole person approach that
Yes.
is something that I
Ah, that's the trick. It's the whole person.
it's
It's
the
not
whole
just
person approach.
one. Work on the concussion, or work on the lower back pain.
It
It's
can't
you
be in
have to go.
isolation.
No, it has to be the whole body, the holistic approach, the mentality, the physical, the emotional. It's amazing how much emotion we store in our bodies, because
We
most of us
store
don't
a
know how to process
huge
emotions.
amount. We store a huge amount. Like sometimes, you've had a bad day, and the next day you get up in the morning, you feel you're all stiff. And
Yes.
you just don't feel right. And
Yeah.
most people go, "Oh, I just didn't sleep right, or I didn't this,"
Yeah.
and they've put all these physical reasons why they're feeling like that, but they don't ever sort of think and attribute it to the fact that I was really emotionally upset, and that
Mhm.
emotion has had an impact on my body. So
Because you
yeah, you
sorry.
can't separate it. You can't separate.
No. Well,
Yeah.
and because most of us, we don't understand how to process emotions. We think we do, but we
Mm.
don't. We stuff it down, and then we
Oh yeah, we're
repress
all
it, and
good
it
at that.
goes into your body. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I actually, so I was almost better from that 18 months, and I had been working at different things, and I found out that the emotions was, I had worked the physical, I had worked the mind, I had worked so many different things. Once I started working on emotional, game changer. It was, releasing. I did somatic experience, and that releases emotion from your body,
yes.
and my body started lightening and feeling better, and it was like, wow. And then I got into two more car accidents, and again the fear came back, and I had an occupational therapist this time, and she was like, have you thought of going to a therapist again? And I was like, well, I didn't really feel like it helped that much. And then she's like, well, okay, but and I was like, okay, well, she's suggesting it. Maybe I could find somebody different. I try not to, when I notice I'm shutting things down right away, I'm like, okay, whoa, why am I shutting this
Why are
down?
you limiting? Why are you
Why am
limiting?
I limiting myself? Yeah. Because I don't want to limit myself,
Yeah.
and something could help. And so, in a roundabout way, I ended up finding out there's such a thing as an emotion based therapist. And then I found an emotion based therapist. And so, while we would talk, she would, kind of talk a little bit about something, and it would, just ask a little bit deeper questions, and boom, emotions were coming out. And then I'd feel like, huh, I feel a little bit better. It's amazing how those emotions are stored in your body, and you can feel better physically
You feel lighter.
from crying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not just crying, you have
Absolutely.
to actually dig some of that stuff out.
Because you're really getting down to the root
Yes.
cause, those really deep emotions,
Yeah.
talk therapy is great and it's very much
Hmm.
needed,
Very.
and you're talking, but sometimes to resolve you have to go really deep, and that's where
You do.
those energy therapists can really
Yes.
tap in, because they can just feel your body as well, the energy
Yeah.
of your body. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've had therapies like that done, and I have walked out, and I felt like I was walking on a cloud, and you're just
Yeah.
emptying your cup. You're emptying your
Hmm.
cup. Yeah, so when something else happens, your cup isn't full and it's all dribbling down the side, and that's your life just dribbling out of the cup. You,
But yeah,
yeah, you've given
it's
some
funny that you say
space.
that. Exactly. I actually had with that 18 months, and it was it. took me a long time to get better. It took me several years. And I saw a psychiatrist, and she said that I had had so much trauma in a short period of time, it overflowed my cup and brought out stuff that was
Oh,
repressed. You
mm,
don't want to do that. Don't have that stuff come up, you know. So if you like, I like somatic experience because it doesn't re-traumatize you. You don't have the thoughts. It just,
yes,
the emotion comes out. And yes, you're going to cry, but you don't have the thoughts about what that traumatic experience was. I mean, I've done hypnotherapy, and while it is good, but when you're trying to dig down, those thoughts coming back is very traumatic. So you're re-traumatizing, is how I
that's,
felt, and
yes,
it was a lot. I mean, I've had energy work done also, and sometimes it wasn't, energy was one thing, and then the emotion is another. And
mm,
so there's the different levels, the different layers, because
yes,
our, it's one of the, I think I saw something that said physical, mental, emotional, your soul, and your energy. I think it was, or energy, and I forget what the fifth one was. Maybe soul, maybe not. But that's the thing, because you have, so many different pieces, and we don't recognize them. And it's not part of, modern medicine
yes,
to recognize everything.
that's right.
And um, I honestly don't think I would have got better the way I did if I did not take a holistic approach, because I tried just looking after piece, the head, the body, and I wasn't getting better.
Mm,
It was holding, I was still struggling, I was still in pain, I was still having a lot of issues. I'm very lucky because I have a physiotherapist who does somatic experience. She does craniosacral, which, if you've ever had
brilliant,
concussions, is like the
brilliant.
greatest
Yeah,
thing ever.
greatest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's always learning and new modalities, and so I'm really lucky. I have like a one-stop shop in her, that I
Mm,
can do a lot of things. But yeah, you can't. I shouldn't say you can't, because some people can. They, maybe they had a different life and they release things better than I have, and so they could just work on the one little piece and get better. But not everybody's like that, and it wasn't like that for
that's
me.
rare, I think. I think that's quite rare. I
Yeah.
don't feel that healing has really one answer. It's usually multi-dimensional.
Yes.
It's like a multi-dimensional approach. So
Hmm.
you can have you can definitely use traditional medical and have all your tests and have
Yeah.
all your get all your measurable
100%.
results, all of that sort of
Yeah.
thing, and then you can go to someone else, and then you can go to someone else, and it's that whole approach. I
Yes.
when I was first started on this journey, especially for my son, I would read so much on the internet. This is like 20 odd years ago. Read so much on the internet, and I'll go, wow, that helped that person, and they did the one thing. I always tried
Yeah.
that one thing and nothing.
Why not better?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not better? Because
Hmm.
it's rare, and this is my opinion. I feel
Yes.
it's rare that one thing can get you to where you need to be. It's
Well, it's
usually
also,
a combination.
exactly, and it's also, what that one thing might have worked for that person, but it might not work for another person.
Exactly, because we're all different.
Very. I mean, one thing that a lot of people, when they have concussions, they will get on medication. I don't. That is a
Mm,
choice I make because I have been on medication before and it never helped me.
right.
So I was lucky, I had a naturopath and he put me on supplements and different things that helped me. And then I had like the physical with the cranial sacral. So I've been really lucky to find things that help me in a different way outside the box. So that's the thing. Like you've got to look, what you've got to hear what helps somebody else, but and listen to what the medical professionals say, and you got to say, is this working for you? If it's not, try something else.
That's
Like,
that's what I was
don't
going to
just stick
say
with
to you.
something that's not working.
That's what I love. That's what I love about your story. Your story is because a lot of people, they've come from the medical, they're not happy, they don't want to be on pharmaceuticals. It's been too much of an individual, uh, compartmentalized approach. And they go,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to go and try something different. I'm going to go and delve into the alternative or the functional, integrative, whatever it is. They do one thing and it doesn't work. And so they go, okay, this is not for me. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But you have to be consistent and persistent. And
Yeah.
even if you do find something that works, it's not immediate. You can't have
No.
something that either requires a lot of healing or you've had it for like 20 years and you expect to just swap a pharmaceutical for a supplement and think, oh, this is going to work for me instantly. You need to actually,
Yeah.
like you did, you changed your perspective, you changed the way you saw and thought about things. You went and, what I gather, one of the most healing things for you was changing your perspective, sharing, and connecting with people. So that
Mhm.
whole emotional side, really
Yeah.
helped propel you, move the needle of where you needed to be and go.
Well, I think too, like one day I was like, is this seriously how I'm going to spend the rest of my life? Like,
Mm,
is this all that my life is going to be now? And I
mm,
didn't like that. I was
no,
like, I can't live, 10 more years like this even. I can't live like this.
mm,
And so it's not easy to go outside the box. It's not easy to try a whole lot of different things. It's not easy to change lifestyle. It's not easy to make these hard. It seems like it could be easy, and then you try and do it, and you're like, oh, this is not easy. This is a lot of. But I
mm,
just want to do what I did before. I just want to eat like I ate before. I just want to, not. I just want to sit on the couch like I sat down on the couch before. Like it's not easy, but the you have to find what's important to you. Is
mm,
it more important to not do it and stay the same, or is it more important to you to make these lifestyle changes, to make this change of mindset, to change your life, you
yeah,
know, and possibly, if you're lucky, find what works for you to heal you. Um, or if that's even a possibility. I do know some people that were, whatever is the normal thing to do, they went outside the box, and something they were told they were going to have to live with, they almost cleared it up. Not necessarily cleared it up, but they changed their lifestyle to the point where it's not a thing for them as much anymore. It's not hindering them anymore. It really comes down to what is important and how do you want to live your life. um,
yeah, I believe it's also, are you prepared to back yourself?
yeah,
Are you prepared? Is your self-worth, is your self-esteem enough to believe that you're worth backing yourself? Because you only get what you think you deserve.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
So if you feel you deserve more, well, then you must find, you have to dig deep like you have to dig deep, find that courage to keep going and try something new. Because for a lot of people, I certainly don't think that a live with a prognosis is good enough. There's always something you can do,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome. But at least
Hmm.
you did it. At least you've backed yourself. At least you've believed in yourself and you've gone and found something else. That is the important thing because you never know what is out there that could actually change your life.
That is the thing, right? You have
Mm,
no idea
have
what is
no
out there that can
idea.
change your life. I love that. That is so true. And if you aren't willing to learn, if you aren't willing to try, you're never going to find out if there is something that can change your life.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
it's amazing. Like I've been told, I mean, with that first 18 months and the injuries and the concussions and stuff, and I actually was told by medical professionals, well, you're not better now, so you're not going to get better. This is where you're going to stay. I got better. And I was almost back to where I was before the, other accidents happened. But and that's the thing, is you can't always, they're just going with what they know. they don't know all these other things. So
Exactly right.
they're just going to say, well, according to all of this stuff that I know, you're not going to get better. So yeah,
And they have to be
no,
careful. They can't say things that they don't feel or believe will happen. So you have that limitation. It's up to you to recognize it. The unfortunate thing with a lot of those statements is for someone who is feeling down or doesn't feel like they're backing themselves, they actually
yeah,
remove hope.
it does.
It removes hope that you could ever be back to the life that you had.
It
I
does.
I think that's what most people want. Most people want that. They want to be back where they were, or at least similar to where they were.
Yes. I've had people ask me that because, I still get treatments now since the last accidents, and I get asked, what's your goal? I'm like, to get my life back. I want to be able to go and experience things again and go
What better
do
goal
things.
than that? There can't
Yes.
be a better goal than that. It's
Yeah.
your life.
I think on the paperwork it's like stand and do dishes. I'm like, are you kidding me? No, that's not a goal for me. Like
What did you stand and do dishes?
stand at the sink to do
Hell
your
no.
dishes. So, no, that's not my goal.
That's not a goal for
I'm like, that's a basic necessity of life. That's not a goal.
that's almost on the level of misery. That's not a goal.
Exactly. I don't like doing dishes. It is a misery.
Really. Teresa,
Yeah.
it has been so lovely speaking to you and hearing your story of courage and persistence and the fact that you believe in yourself. It's been such an inspiration, and I've been so blessed to hear your story and what you did, and all the listeners as well.
Well, thank you
And
so
I
much
think
for
you're
giving me the space to share. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
well, I think you're actually going to inspire a lot of people
I
to
hope
actually
so.
go, you know what? I can do this. You know,
Mhm.
I'm worth this. You know,
Everybody's worth it. Yeah,
everybody's worth it. So
everybody is worth it.
it has been
And
such a pleasure speaking
thank
to you
you.
today.
I've
And
enjoyed it.
great. And if anybody wants to hear more or get in contact with Teresa on how to write and journal, all her details will be in the show notes. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. I would love to know, what was the biggest insight or aha moment you got from this interview? So you can now speak up, take action, and make informed decisions for your health. And if you like this episode, get instant access to your free ebook, Alternative Wisdom, Taking Back Control of Your Health, at life-onus.com.